5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Are you ready to work towards a healthier future? Implement the best strategies for hitting your goals and taking life head on? Damn right you are. I'm your host, Courtney Levesque, and the Her Inspired Journey podcast is proud to bring you 10 minutes to better fitness. Every week, you'll hear the best of the best regarding your mental and physical health, as well as actionable insight you can implement right away. From your overall fitness to mindset, accountability, and the hottest trending topics, we've got you covered. Get ready, the clock's ticking, and your goals are waiting.
Hey you guys, welcome back to another episode of 10 Minutes to Better Fitness. Today I want to start talking about nutrition and diets and an approach to what you're eating. And we're going to kick off this segment by talking about intermittent fasting. And there's no doubt in my mind that if you have been on the internet or working in an office or traveling, you have heard people talking about IF or intermittent fasting. And there's a lot of different approaches. There's a big variety of ways that you can implement this into your diet, into your, just regular eating patterns. But you hear about it, all the time through all sources, through all media. Somebody has been talking about intermittent fasting. There are a ton of benefits and we're going to get to those. But first, I really want to just talk about what that looks like. So again, intermittent fasting can be a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and it can serve a variety of purposes. But the one really important thing to know about IF, if you need to see if it's going to work for you. Women tend to be a little bit more sensitive just because of our hormone profiles in doing longer duration fasting than men. But again, this is something that you can just kind of play around with and see what works best for you. It's also important to know that it doesn't have to keep a certain structure. And I tell with my clients, I'm constantly reminding them, if you are trying to fast and if you're trying this approach and you find at some point you're just really hungry, eat some food. It's okay to break that fast. And sometimes it takes just a little bit of time and getting used to it to make that really work for you. But the most popular, I would say, form of intermittent fasting is going to be a 16-8. So you're going to fast for 16 hours and then you're going to eat for an 8-hour window throughout the day. It's easiest to do this. You can do that 16 during the day, but it doesn't make much sense because then you're just extending your eating time to later in the day when you're going to be trying to go to sleep. Again, this could be different though, just depends on what your circadian rhythm is, when your sleep and awake cycles are. Maybe you work a third shift. So you just, again, have to see what works for you. But that 16-8 approach is nice because you can start your fast after dinner, fast all night while you're sleeping, and then again the next day until you have your first meal, typically around 10 to noon. Everybody's going to be a little bit different, and you don't have to keep this approach every single day, but it can bring you a lot of good benefits. The other thing that you want to think about is if you're going to be, maybe you're traveling or you commute late home from work or you hit the gym after, your long day at the office. Just think about when those eating patterns are going to be best suited for you and your lifestyle. So maybe you don't get done eating your dinner until 7 or 8 p.m. You just need to move that window of eating the next day. So if you're going to be eating at 7, instead of 6, move that to 11 instead of 10 a.m. or move that to noon instead of 11. So just play around with what works for you and just kind of go around trial and error kind of thing to see if it works. Now, why would you want to do IF or input intermittent fasting into your diet? That's a really good question. So there's a lot of great health benefits. Again, these are things that are being researched and studied and talked about by doctors and talked about by everybody. However, what works for you and what's best for you may be a little bit different. So before I give any of these things, I want to say that it's hard to prove any of these things, although there are studies to support it. Talk to your doctor if you're breastfeeding, pregnant, if you have any, if you're diabetic, just talk to your health professional and make sure this is right for you. But some of the great things about intermittent fasting is in that fast period, your body actually gets to detoxify. It really helps work on cellular repair. It works on this super fancy word called autophagy, which helps your body just detox and get rid of all the extra junk. So that window of not having to process, break things down, or pull apart our food to figure out where that's going to go and how it's going to support our metabolism is really good for just letting everything reboot, right? It's like the ultimate reset button. It's also really good for lowering your blood pressure. It also helps with regulating your insulin sensitivity. So over time, if we have a really carb-heavy diet, or if we're not eating the healthiest plates of food, what can happen is our insulin sensitivity can go down, right? So we are eating all these carbs and our body doesn't quite respond the right way. You've always got this influx of insulin in your body. Well, during these times of fasting, your body gets to relearn how to process that insulin. So you're going to be more likely to have carbohydrates and then be recognizing that as food, that releases the insulin into your bloodstream. So the insulin sensitivity is a really good thing to incorporate. It's a really good benefit to have. So sometimes when you talk about insulin sensitivity, people go like, oh, I don't want that, but you do want to be sensitive to having that insulin and spike in the blood sugar. So it also works to help reduce inflammation in your body, which is amazing because there's a lot of different reasons, from the gut to joints to all different kinds of body systems, where that chronic inflammation is not a good thing, right? It can also work to induce our immune system, right? So we're constantly thinking that we're fighting something. And inflammation, like chronic inflammation, things that we deal with on a daily basis over time, can actually lead to other things like autoimmune disorders. So inflammation is something that we really need to be mindful of. And if we can use intermittent fasting to kind of slow down that inflammation process and oxidation process, it will really help in our long-term health, which is another benefit. Intermittent fasting and giving your bodies those breaks from processing and digesting food, metabolizing things, can also really help to slow down the aging process. Now, obviously, when I say oxidation and inflammation, those things together, on a chronic basis, which we have in our lives, but too much of that will increase your aging process. Even things within, your body system is in your organs and how those work, but also in your appearance and how things look on the outside. So typically how we look on the outside is a pretty good indication of how things are going on the inside. So just be really careful for that. And approaching your long-term health as a major priority. It can also work to regulate your body composition. So people might introduce intermittent fasting for weight loss, and it can be very well used for that. But at the end of the day, the calories in and the calories out are going to be what determines what your body composition looks like. So we're talking about lean body tissue, we're talking about body fat, and that structure that makes you who you are. So although IF can be used successfully for weight reduction and improved muscle mass and improving your metabolic function, it can only do that if then the calories that you are consuming are adequate for what your body needs. And I want to make that very clear, that IF can't just be used to lose a bunch of weight, because ultimately what you're going to do is you're going to have those calories in at some point. And although you might find that window of time that you're consuming shorter throughout the day, you still have the ability or the opportunity to increase the calories that you're getting in and decrease your burn. So overall, IF isn't going to make you lose weight unless the calories are still balanced, that are coming in, that you're eating or drinking, or that you're expending through regular activities, breathing, digesting, all those kind of things, and exercise. So there's a couple different ways that can be regulated. We're also talking about increasing your human growth hormone. So this is something that helps us naturally keep a good physique. It helps with repairing of muscles. It helps with growth of muscles and maintaining that muscle mass over time, and allowing your body to cellularly repair when you are in that fasted state, also while in times of resting, will help you increase that rate of human growth hormone. And they say that the longer that you do that fasting, the longer that you restrict your intake of food, the higher your human growth hormone will be in your system. So there's some really great benefits to that. I just want to leave you with a couple thoughts though, that you're going to have to, again, just really think about when you're having food, when you're restricting that, what that looks like. Play around with a bunch of different things. See what's going to work best for you. And you don't have to do this every single day. So if there are times where it's really conducive for your lifestyle or your scheduling, throw in some IF. If you are in an area or time period of life when it's not conducive, you don't have to do it. It's not one of those things that you have to do consistently. I like to do it on a 5-day plan, so Monday through Friday. I do intermittent fasting, which means nothing to eat or drink besides like black coffee, tea unsweetened, or water until that period of eating resumes. So these are some really great things to think about when you're talking about intermittent fasting, and I'm sure you have more questions after this, so leave me, send something my way. You can hit me at herinspiredjourney@gmail.com. You can also find it on my website. It is herinspiredfitness.com. I will see you next week, same place, same time, right here.